Right, morning everybody. Welcome to a chilly Tuesday. It's a little bit meant to be our best weather, and it's quite cold already. So I think we're gonna have a blast of a winter. Right, you can all see the screen. Today we're talking about taking an offer from the buyer. This is like a I don't know how I've got 4 slides. Okay, so if I can teach you this in 4 slides, then either I've left out something or you guys are very smart. So I'm banking on the smartness. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so the first thing is it's got to do with buyer engagement. Now, buyer engagement is a whole series of things that we do when we meet a buyer. Okay, now remember that the market's changed, it's become a buyer's market. So you guys are going to pick up a lot of buyers who with a lot of options. So they're not necessarily going to want to stick with you because they've got lots of stuff to look at. So when you get a buyer, you really do need to look after them. And I think this buyer engagement is quite, I mean, did you even know that when you met a buyer that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that you have to consider? I mean, there's quite a lot going on when you meet a buyer. And most people don't. They take a call, oh, you want to view a house? Okay, cool, I'll meet you there. You meet the person, they show them the house, and then you move on. You think you've done your job. You so totally haven't done anything. You like people who do that they're not acting like an agent. We don't need, you don't need to open the door for them. That's the order taker. That's not what a proper professional agent does. So some things on buyer engagement, the most important thing is the planning. You need to plan your things. So when you put an advert on the interwebs, you've got to assume that you're going to get calls. You don't plan not to get calls. So if you're going to get calls, you better have something set up to respond to those calls. So you need to get organized. And the typical things that you need is, the first thing you need is an offer to purchase. You need one printed, ready to go in a file. You need flyers of the property describing it, the pretty pictures of our CRM system. They're absolutely beautiful. You've got portrait, landscape, window, shelf talkers. You've got about 10 different options for yourself. And of course, you need things like the area stats. Remember that same thing that we discussed about the seller, how to get a mandate. You are now going to change slightly and focus it on the buyer. Now you're going to sell all the upside of the area to the buyer. You're going to be selling in the dream, because remember, buyers are people that buy with emotion. They fall in love with properties. They love the area. It's aspirational. They're typically moving up. I mean, not many buyers, or I suppose there are, but it's not really a buyer that's going to move down. So when we show people houses, it's their first house, or it's a bigger house, or they're having kids, so it's exciting, it's emotional. So you better be excited and emotional with the buyers. With the sellers, they're talking money. They're not interested in your exciting dribble. They want to see the money. Okay. So get organized and have those things ready. The meet part, you're going to meet this person. You need to look after security. I'm not going to discuss it, but you do know about it. We need to find out who they are. And if you're in it all at doubt, the best thing is to do is never go alone to a meeting. The second thing you can do is ask for their IDs up front. And if a person doesn't want to give you the ID and you live in South Africa, it means there's something wrong. Okay, because all of us know that if I have an appointment with a woman in somebody's empty house, and they say to me, listen, the owner's very fastidious about security. They want to know who I bring to their house. Please, can you send me a copy of your ID? If I say no to that, it means I'm not a real buyer. Because everybody understands that. There should really be no problem. And if a person says no, rather let it be no, because there's something going on. Okay. The other thing about buyers is that first impressions count. Just remember that. Don't rock up there in your tracksuit, Sandy, because you are late for badminton and you couldn't find time to have a shower yet, and now you got your old flippin' pajamas on. It's just remember, you've got to be a professional. You try to sell yourself the same drama that you try to get to the seller. You're now trying to impose on the buyer. You've got to present yourself as a professional property practitioner. Okay, not Kali from the Val, who's moonlighting as an estate agent. Okay, so, and you need to take the time to introduce Property-CLOSE and yourself. Don't rush the buyer appointment. Remember, some people have driven there. It's taken them 45 minutes to get there. And I always remember every one of my viewings. There goes the power. My word. Okay, this was a drama last week as well. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let me just sort this out. Let's see, the Jenny will come up, and like magic. I know you can see what's on the screen, but I can't. There, now we're back. Can you see everything still? Okay, so what in all of my time as an agent, I just remember always these seller and buyer, the buyer appointments being absolutely frantic. Like you're screaming there with fucking smoke coming out your motor, your tires, you get out there, you yes, I started straightening up, and you're running and show them, I'm Anton, I'll show you the house, and you whoop through the house and you leave. But I think that's wrong. I think you don't have a chance then to demonstrate your professionalism and to have your first impression count. So what I think you should do is make a chance to meet the person. You need to actually sit down with the buyer. Sit down, how's it going? Who are you? Introduce yourself and go through the whole process. Okay. The needs analysis, you need to, at that same meeting, ask these open-ended questions. We spoke about it with the buyer, with the sellers. Open-ended questions are your friend. The what, where, why, who, how are you moving? Why are you moving? Where have you looked for other houses? Are you pre-approved? You need to engage. And why? Because you're trying to form a relationship with the buyer. The buyer can go anywhere. Let him come to you. Make friends with him, and you'll make friends with him by letting him talk about themselves. If you want to make friends, if you want people to like you, let them talk about themselves. If I want you to like me, I mustn't tell you about my hobby, that I go fishing at the Vaal River with Pally from Badar and Mikey, because that's not going to impress you. If I asked you, what do you do on the weekend? Oh, I play badminton in my special tracksuit. Then that's a different story. Then you'll become friends with them. Okay. Qualify your buyers. That's very important. You need to know how long they've been looking. Because if I meet a buyer who's been looking for 2 or 3 years now, can't find the right place, then you mustn't talk to that person, because they're not suddenly going to find a place that they've been looking for so long. Okay. And you need to ask them if they're pre-qualified. If they're not pre-qualified, you need to hook them up with a bond originator immediately. Why? Because you need to tie them into you. And if you're offering them services like this, you become professional. Right, then you do the viewing. You see, there's quite a lot that happens before you get the viewing. All of this has happened before you get the viewing. Now you do the viewing. And at the viewing, this is where you shine. This is where you show your actual value as a professional property practitioner. You've got your best suit on, you've got a tie. Maybe you haven't got a tie, but you've got a nice collared shirt. You're looking pretty. Your hair's all brushed. You clean your teeth for the first time in a week because you haven't had power like Sandy. And now she's checking if her teeth are shut. But they're not. It's okay, Sandy. But it's all good. So, and you show your value, and you show your value from the beginning by standing outside the house and say, look at this beautiful house. Look at the area. How peaceful is it? Look at this. This is the schools around the corner. And you show them the property, and you show them the value that you've determined. Do you realize that the average selling price in this area is 1.2 million rand? There have been 8 houses that have sold here, one down the road, one over there, one over there. That one sold for 1.2. This one's for 1.3. This one's on the market for 1.4 because it's been renovated and it's got a pool, and that one didn't have a pool. And you're adding value because that's what you're meant to be doing. Yes? Okay. And UKYS, you know your stuff. And there's another word for the S that you can use, but you need to know your stuff. Okay, so when people ask you something about the suburb, this is where you actually can't not know. You can ask, they can trick you about the offer to purchase and say, oh, I'll have to check that. It's a slightly legal issue. I just want to get the right answer. And you phone somebody. About the area, if they say, is there a primary school in the area? And you go, yeah, I don't know. I don't actually know this area. Like, that's not going to get you a good response. Okay. And then you close the deal. Now, closing the deal isn't when you show the guy the house and the guy says, listen, I want to buy the house. Hey, I've never heard anybody say, I want to buy the house. You've got to ask them, do you want to buy the house? And you leave a pause and you let them think and answer. And they say, yeah, yes, no, yeah, I'm interested or I'm not interested. And you've pushed them hard then because you want an answer. You don't want to dilly-dally with these guys for 6 more hours. Either they're buying or they're not buying. If you're not buying, get out of here. If you are buying, prepare to talk to you. And you want to find out. Okay. And you need to stay professional. So you need to ask for the work. You need to be able to close the deal with the right paperwork that you've got in your beautiful folder that's nice and red. And you open it up and there's offers to purchase and the CMAs. and the suburb statistics and everything comes pouring out, and the person goes, yeah, okay, this oak is a proper professional, because he's not like that other guy who came screaming in with his tires on fire, stumbled out of the car with bottles falling out the door, and he didn't even have a pen on him. Right, that's not us. So now you showed the person in the house, now you look out for these things, because now you are acting like a pro. So you look at the buyer, this young couple, and they're standing there next to each other, and he's looking at her, and they're looking at them, and now you're looking for buying signals, because you're trying to work out if you got a deal or not. So there's lots of non-verbal signals. People tell you more. Here's the thing, yeah. 55% of stuff is, the impression is based on body language, and it's more than 55% of the communication is non-verbal. So you'll be able to see by there, if the guy's walking around like this, what do you think they ask? I think it's bloody beautiful. So I don't know, eh? Like, do you think that? Do you really think that? I don't think you think that. And if you do think that, tell your face, you miserable. Anyway, so what are these non-verbal cues that you're looking for? Well, people not wanting to leave. They walk around the house and I just want to go into the other room, and then they split up, and he's going in the pool and she's sitting in the lounge, and that's a sure sign that people are interested. People don't spend time on things they don't like. They'll get away from it if they don't like it. The other thing is touching each other. If they like, that's a sign that they're engaging. They are now communicating with each other about this dream, because remember, it's emotional, right? And there's a nervous excitement. You can actually, it's palpable. You can feel the energy of a person who's like about to make a 2 million rand purchase. You really can. And if you can't, then you need to wake up, because you should be able to, because you can see when the person's about to make this decision, man, they're like, and they want to tell everybody they've made it. Okay, so look out for it. And then there obviously is verbal communication, where they will tell you, I'd like to show my mother this. I'd like to show my cousin. That's interesting. I wonder why. Because they think so, they like the curtains or what? No, because they want to buy it and they want confirmation. And that's a lovely sign. And one of the better ones is when they just start discussing renovations. They don't get cross, and don't let the owner get cross when they say, we just break out this wall and break out that wall and change the color. And the owner goes, yeah, I just spent 50 grand painting the kitchen purple, and now you want to break it down. I don't think you should get out of my house. Okay, that's not the right thing. When people start renovating and start putting in furniture, and we put the dishwasher over there, we put mom's lounge over there, that's a sign that they're moving in with their minds and moving into the property. And you must encourage that. Oh, what lounge suite have you got? Oh, no, I've got a big leather one. Ooh, it'll fit lovely here. What about putting in the sunroom? And you can get engaged and you can wind the people up. Okay. And the other one is voicing minor concerns. You mustn't let that get you down, man. It's such a lucky house. It's just a pity. It's got the sunroom, it's just, what about the sunroom? What's wrong with the sunroom? Well, and you deal with it. Then you talk them through the sunroom, because maybe the sunroom's not a big problem. But that little concern is something that's interesting. And people say stupid things like, I just don't like the light fittings. Well, change them. Light fittings will cost you $100, man. They're cheap. I'll get them on special. Right. So those then are the signs that the person's interested. Now you need to help them make choices, because you're not the only choice. You're not the only guy on stage, let's say, because they may be seen other properties. There's maybe another one to come. So you need to ask leading questions to help the person buy. So when you've finished with the formal viewing of the house, there'll come a time when you'll feel, okay, this is the right time. And you can ask the guy, so what did you like about this house? A garage. Okay, you're going home. You're not, sorry for you. You're not winning today. And what I like about this, I just love the way it flows on the pool. It'd be so awesome. My kids would go mad then. I could just sit and watch them from the patio. Sweet. That's a lovely thing to say about this house, because you're right. But you don't say, don't you like the kitchen? Because that's not an open question, because that answers yes or no. You don't want that. You say, what do you like about the house? What do you like about the other house? Because maybe you showed them another house, or maybe they saw another house, or they said they're going to see a house. What do you like about the other one? So you can compare, because you want to get them involved. And then a nice one is to say to them, can you see yourself living here? And then he's not going to answer, but he's wild, but I see myself living here, my stuff like that, the things is cool, you know, that's a good one. Okay, so you can see yourself living there. So you've got to help them through this. Okay. But now you're going to get objections. Now remember, minor objections are good. Major objections are terrible. Anton, I've got a family of 16. This is a one-bedroom flat. My mother's 192. We're on the 47th floor. How do you expect this to work? Oh, sorry, I didn't actually listen. I didn't realize. Okay, you will be not a professional agent in 1 second if you don't at least pay attention. So if you want to show somebody something that's not quite what they asked for, and you can do this, you can say, I know you want a 4-bedroom, but I'm going to take you to a 3-bedroom because it's got a patio that can easily be another bedroom or a study. Please just bear with me. I understand what you require, and I'm going to show you that this one will work. But it's such a good house. It's such a good price. In such a good area. It would be crime for me not to show you. Okay. So what are the objections? Oh, no, you're going to buy it. No, we're going to think about it. What are you going to think about? No, we're going to think about, we're going to think about it. What's wrong? Is there something about it that you don't understand? Can I show you? Can I help you with it? And sometimes the objections aren't big. Hey, you please just, you've got to ask the question. You've got to get it out because you've got to know what it is that they're objecting to so that you can help them. It needs too much work. That's a very, very typical one. And it's too expensive. Or it's too expensive. Okay, so what do you do about these things? Now, you don't need a clever mouth here. You don't need to be slim. There's nothing about that. You need to address this in a proper way, and I'm going to show you how to address this. You can use the CARI-CLOSE method. Does everybody know CARI-CLOSE? The actor from the 70s? CARI-CLOSE? No, it's because I made it up. There's no such thing. But anyway, the CARI-CLOSE method is real. It's a real method, and let's have a look. So how do you, when a person objects, what you do is, first of all, is you clarify the objection. If they say to you, the house needs too much work, you need to ask them, what do you mean by too much work? Because this is a second-hand house in Randburg. It's 40 years old, and so yes, it will need work. Otherwise, I can sell you a new one in Waterfall. But Randburg, they're all old houses. No, no, it's actually not the house. It's really just it needs paint. And that's a big problem for us because we're not builders and we can't paint. Well, I actually know a builder who will paint this house because we've got a quote, because you'll know that as a good agent if it needs a paint. And you get a quote on it from somebody, and it's not a lot. But you realize that painting this house, I've got a quote. It's probably about 25,000 Rand. Not a lot of money, man. Okay. You acknowledge. So you acknowledge the person, and you've got to show them empathy. What you can't do is say, that's not a real, don't worry about it. That's not showing empathy. It's not being professional. So what I suggest you do is you listen very carefully to the complaint, to the objection, and you say, yeah, I do understand what you're saying. It is real. I mean, the place does need a paint. There's no doubt it needs a paint. So you acknowledge them, you show them they heard, you dignify them as the client with your attention. You don't just say, nonsense, it's fine. That pump always makes that noise. It's absolutely fine. You just have to sleep with earplugs. No, that's not right. Yes, I see, I understand it. You're not trying to hide the problem. You're trying to say, I acknowledge you. Your concern is real. It's a valid concern. And thank you for pointing it out. And let's see if we can solve it. And that's where the response comes. Now you need to discuss it. Now, if you're a good agent, you know what the response is because you know what these problems are. You sat with the owner, you've walked around the place, you've looked at it, and you know that the pool's green. And they're going to ask you about the pool. You know that the fence is wobbling and falling over in one place. You better have an answer for it. You know that the place isn't on plan. Have an answer, and it needs a paint. How much is it going to cost? So that you can answer them in a proper way. And there's number 4 is isolate. I'll come back to that. And the last one is close. Isolate is such an important thing. It's just a method. It's just a simple way of saying, okay, let me just understand it. So you think this is a lovely house because you told me you could see yourself living here, remember? And Grumpy van Tonde, you said you loved the garage And your wife said you love sitting in the patio overlooking the lawns and the kids could play in the pool. So my understanding is that you love the house. Is that correct? Yes, it's fine. And now I do understand that you've got a problem with the paintwork. Is that correct? Okay, so let's just take the paintwork away from the property. If this house was freshly painted right now, would you have a problem with it? No, that would be awesome. Then would you like to put an offer in on that basis? Yes. Good. Now we just have to work out who pays for the paint. It's very simple. We can try and let the owner pay, or we can just reduce the price slightly, or you can pay. So we can find a way to do it. Do you have money? Because I can't afford paint. Well, I think you can, because paint's actually not that expensive. It's about 25,000 Rand. Here's a quote from my friend Mikey from Bradar, who lives on the wall and does painting. And he will slap a lick of paint on this place, make it look like a brand new pin in one day. And that's fantastic. Problem solved. Why? Because you isolated the problem. You don't make the whole house the problem. Then when they go home to talk to their mom, they can say, that's beautiful, it's lovely, oh, it needs a paint, but they're going to sort that out. They distance themselves from the problem. The house remains a beautiful dream. Does it make sense? And closing simple. Would you like to put in an offer? Let's sit down and do the offer, and you do the offer. Now, you can do the offer on the bonnet of the car if you have to, but don't. Right. Any questions? Quickly. No? Okay. It's so easy, Sandy. It's like falling off a log. I know. Not presenting the paperwork. Now this says, yes, we would like to put in an offer. Okay, so now you've got an OTP in your file. What you don't do, you say to them, yeah, take this home and fill it in and send it back to me. You please don't do that, guys. You have to fill in the paperwork yourself. Remember, you're trying to be a professional property practitioner, and to be professional, your job, like your only job, is to fill in the paperwork. If you think about it, you don't own the house, you didn't buy the house, you didn't do anything. All you did was meet them there so you could fill in the paperwork. So at least do that, okay, to get your money, please. So, and when people fill in when the buyer fills in the paperwork, and I think you'll understand this, the selling price, the deposit, the bond is quite a confusing thing. You need to kind of understand it before you can do it right. And even experienced agents get it wrong sometimes. When's the deposit due? But if it's cash, why do I need a deposit? You cannot leave that up to the buyer. They will mess it up. Yeah, they won't get it right. And then you've got an incomplete offer, and it's signed by one party, and it has to go back to that party. Now, if you want to make your offer fail, is give it an excuse to fail. Because if people have an excuse to resolve from an agreement, they will. There's a thing called cognitive dissonance, buyer's remorse. And everybody gets it. Every time you go to the shop and buy that beautiful handbag, and you come back and you show your husband the handbag, and he goes, yeah, look, how much was that? And you go, no, it was on special. I saved 900 Rand on it. I didn't ask you how much you saved. I asked you how much did you pay. No, I paid 5,000 Rand. And then inside, to be honest, Linda, you do feel a little bit, oh, I should maybe not have done that. Maybe it wasn't the right handbag. Yeah, but maybe it also was. But anyway, so the point is that the distance is, don't give people the option. So what you say is, no, man, I didn't buy the handbag. I went to Spar, and I was the 55th customer, and they gave it to me for free. And then you move on. So please don't let them mess with your offer to purchase. The next thing is negotiate up front. Yeah, you need to really, really grow up and become a professional agent. And I know when a person says, yes, they want to put in an offer, it's tempting just to write down exactly what they say. I'm only going to offer a million Rand, no deposit, 100%, 108% bond, because I want the cost to be paid, and the owner is going to repaint, and I'm going to get, I'm going to move in on Monday, and I'm not paying occupational interest. Now, you as a professional agent need to look at that list and say, I know my seller, and that's not in my mandate to take a nonsense offer like that. And you need to push back on them now. Why? Because they're excited to buy now. They've made the decision to buy. They're excited. They're at the point where you actually can negotiate with them. This point comes, and it's a fleeting moment. You should write this down. It's a fleeting moment when you've got the buyer in a position where he wants to put in an offer, but he has the excitement of the ownership to come. And at that point, it's almost like opening a present, because the excitement's there and you nearly got it. And now the person says, but you can't open it. It's not Christmas yet. tomorrow, my boy. Go back to bed. It's tomorrow. Now, if that point, that little energy that you've got going there is when you can actually do a deal. And you say to the guy, you can't offer them R1 million. It's on for 1.2. Why would you offer $1 million? It's not worth $1 million. It's worth 1.2. It's actually worth 1.3. No, because we have to repaint, and I have to repaint, and I'm taking the paint off. Okay, but I've got a quote for you about painting, and the quote is 25,000 Rand. How do I explain to the seller that you're taking 200,000 Rand off a price when he knows the paint's only going to cost 25? So the actual price you want to offer is 1,175,000, because that's what you're saying. You want to reduce the paint amount, and I've got a paint quote. So 25,000 Rand. It's not 200,000 Rand. Okay, so you negotiate hard there. This moving in without paying costs. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. You cannot move into somebody's house and not pay interest. And there's no deposit. We're not accepting a no deposit. We've got many buyers for this property. We're showing a lot of people it. If you want it, please just put in a deposit. There's no reason not to put a deposit in, because why? The deposit's yours. It stays in the trust account. And if the deal doesn't go through, you get it back and you get interest. Show intent. Show the seller that you are committed to the deal by at least phoning the bank and telling them to pay the money into the attorney's trust account. There's absolutely no reason not to have a deposit. Okay. Then, so you negotiate quite hard up front without breaking your deal, and this is where you need to be a little bit clever. And guys will say, well, if I don't pay, I'm not going for over 1 million Rand. Sorry, I'm not putting it in. And you can try and press them as hard as you can. And if they insist on it, you don't break the deal. You say, well, I'll present it to the seller. But remember, Mr. Buyer, I am working for you as well. So I'm going to try and get him to accept this deal because I want it to work. So I'm working for you. I'm trying to get you to as close as you can together. But if you're going to insist on 1 million, understand that he can accept it, reject it, or please, somebody say the word, counter it. Yes, 3 things you can do. So I'm going to take it to him and I'm going to try and get him to accept it. I'm going to not let him reject it. And at the worst case, I'm going to see if we can counter it. Okay. This show me the sums. It's a very interesting thing, that. Show me the sums. Where you say to the person, exactly the example that I said, it's 1.2 million Rand, but you're offering 1 million. Why did you take off 2 million Rand? No, because the painting is going to have to be done and it's expensive. And then you show them the sums. Here's the quote, 25,000 Rand. You can only take 25,000 Rand off if you're using the logic that you've just told me. So you can use their own logic against them. And it's quite nice when the people say the price. Because remember, in a negotiation, he who says the number first loses. Remember this. So if you ever go into a salary negotiation with anybody and they say, how much would you want to earn? You don't answer. You say, how much are you prepared to pay? Because if you tell them a number, they only, oh, we can't afford 25,000 and we'll give you 20. No, that's quite a reasonable amount. Meantime, in his head, he's going to offer you 40. So please, don't let people, if you're negotiating hard or showing the sums or negotiating on facts, you say, how much are you prepared to pay? 1 million. A little bit low that. I think we need to go up to 1.1. Meet the guy halfway. No, I think you do. We're not going to give the guy a bad offer. You want this place. Your wife wants it. It's a beautiful house. And you can't pretend that painting's going to cost 200,000 Rand. And you talk to them exactly like that. Because why? You're acting in the capacity of a professional property broker. Okay. Professional property broker, you must be so proud of yourselves. And you should be. So negotiating on facts and not emotions is very simple. You don't let people run away with their heads here and say, it's a mess. The garden's a mess and the pool's blue and green and the walls need painting. This house is basically derelict. You need whoa, hang on, everybody, just calm down. The house isn't a mess. I've seen an inspection report where there's a roof and there's a paint and there's a fleck and there's a door handle. All of that is normal in a second-hand house. In the whole of Johannesburg, you'll never buy a house that's second-hand and not have these little snags. So let's just get our heads right here. These things are quite common. Is there something, and this is where you isolate, is there something that you are concerned about that's really a deal breaker? And that's the one you attend to. The other stuff, you're buying a second-hand house. Yes, there are going to be odds and ends that need to be repaired, because why? When you get over 40, you start having odds and ends that need to be repaired. Okay. show me the money is very important. You need to push the guy very hard here. Where they say, you need to at least ask, how are you funding this? They say, no, I'm going to go and see, I'm going to go to, I've got a bond guy. Okay, who is your bond guy? No, I don't know. I'm not sure his name. My mate used him and he was awesome, and I'm going to phone my mate. So you haven't got a bond guy, then you're thinking of using the bond guy. Listen, can I suggest that you use my bond guy, please? And you give him Lindy's name or Jenny's name, and you say, let's just use our guy. You want the house. You don't want to lose it from somebody that you've got you don't even know who they are. I'm telling you, you can trust these two originators, and let's get you a proper bond, and they're very, very good at their jobs. Because if you just let it slide, oh no, I've got a guy, then you're losing out on opportunity, you're losing out on commission, you're losing out the security of your deal, and you're not being a professional person who's trying to help. Okay. The other thing about showing me the money is when people say it's a cash deal. Oh, lovely. And you write down a cash deal and that's it. You can't write that's it. You can't be over then. You say, all right, where does the money come from? And I don't know why it's awkward. People seem to think this is an awkward discussion. It's not awkward. You're about to take a deal for 2 million rand to somebody, and this cat is saying that I've got 2 million rand lying around. Well, I'm impressed. Where did you get 2 million rand from? I want to know. Why? Because my mandate doesn't allow me to take flaky offers. I need to know where the money's coming from. The seller's very clear that I need to properly qualify my buyers. So, and he's going to say, well, it's a investment. Okay, it's an investment, and how will you wrap it up? Now I need to give them 32 days notice. Okay, so when we formulate the deal, we need to put that in. That's going to be only 32-day notice. And then, but in the meantime, the owner's got nothing to show that you've got the money. Just me, Anton's word. It's worthless. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get a letter from your investment guy, your investment guru, to say that, yes, this gentleman has in fact got 2 million rand in investment, and he can release it after 32 days, and you'll pay it into the bank account. And that's fantastic. So you're showing commitment from them too. Showing me the money also is asking for a deposit. When it's a cash deal and you say, listen, I know it's 2 million rand, I think we should put a cash deposit in just to show commitment to the deal. And 10% of 200,000 rand it's refundable to you. It's kept safely in the trust account, and you earn interest. Now, well, what's the point? It's all cash. Well, the point is that you're showing commitment. The point is that if you just do this whole deal and you never ever show, you never put any money down other than on the final moment, the seller is going to be very uncomfortable. And why would you accept an offer like that where you're showing no commitment? You're telling me you want to buy the house, so buy the house. When you go to Pick and Pay and you try and walk out with 6 beers, they don't say you can pay me next week when you finally drink them. No, you pay up front, man. So just pay something up front. You're not asking for the whole amount. You're just asking for commitment. Show commitment to the deal. And you just keep on and it's not worth it, man. It's fine and nothing. Show commitment to the deal. It's going to make the seller look at your deal more favorably. I promise you, a cash deal, more cash deals crash than bond deals. Do you understand this, Mr. Buyer? So bringing us cash is not exciting to an agent. And they're going to say, oh, it's a cash deal. Will I get a better discount? You're not going to get a better discount. In fact, you're going to get less of a discount because cash deals are more difficult for us and often crash more often than a bonded deal. Because we can vet a bond deal properly. We can do a pre-approval in 1 second. We know exactly what's going on. Cash is sometimes very tricky to deal with, and people they think they got cash until they try and pay it away, and then they realize, oh, can't quite get it, or there's a problem. Yeah. And the last thing is ask for help. Please just phone somebody, phone an agent that you can trust, phone Linda, phone Anton, phone anybody if you're running into trouble with the seller. And sometimes it's simply, I have simply spoken to the buyer saying, listen, I think I realize you've got a problem with the deposit. Just understand, and I'll say exactly what you're going to say. Just understand it as a show of good faith to the seller. It's kept in a safe trust account. NGL are completely professional outfit. They've got 7 practices across Gauteng. They're one of the biggest firms in the country. So there really is no risk for you to pay a deposit. You know, and just somebody else saying it, an appeal to authority almost from your side makes the person comfortable, so that you can present to the seller with a beautifully formatted, neatly written in your own hand, not by them, with the cash deposits, with everything written out, offer. And that's how you make a deal. Right. It's easy. Are there any questions? Right, we've got less than a minute to go. So I would encourage you to go out and have a nice day. Yes.
Anton, there's a question in the chat.
Oh my word, I've got less than a minute left. I'll give it a go. Some buyers don't bring their partners, makes second, how do you get around this? You can't. Yeah, Bernard, it's very difficult there. It's not ideal though. What Bernard's alluding to is it's not ideal. You need both parties present. But you can only try and remind them. Are you married? Will you bring your wife? Please bring her with. Let's have a look at it. I know you're going to love this house. So just keep saying that. Right. Go and sell some houses. Have a nice day.